You might think you know Andy Cohen. You see him every night on Watch What Happens Live, glass of wine in hand, laughing with celebrities, playing games, asking the questions everyone else is too polished to ask. You see him at every Real Housewives reunion, sitting in that velvet chair like a king holding court, making women cry, throwing around words like porch dick and shade like it's all just harmless fun. He built the most dominant reality TV empire on television. He is Bravo. Without Andy Cohen, there are no Housewives, no BravoCon, no franchise that has minted millionaires out of women eating dinner in New Jersey. But right now, in 2026, Andy Cohen is not sitting comfortably in that velvet chair. Right now, Andy Cohen has a growing stack of lawsuits, legal filings, explosive allegations, and courtroom rulings piling up around him. And the most alarming part? The situation is getting worse, not better. Judges are not dismissing these cases. They are moving forward into open federal court in public where everything will have to come out. Today we are doing a full, deep, comprehensive breakdown of every major legal battle swirling around Andy Cohen and the Real Housewives universe. We are going chronologically. We are not missing anything. Because when you lay all of this out in order, start to finish, the picture that emerges is not flattering. And the people bringing these cases are not one disgruntled former employee looking for a payout. They are multiple women with lawyers, with evidence, with court filings that federal judges have read and said, yes, this case has merit. This goes to trial. So let's start at the beginning. The first shot across the bow came from Nene Leakes, one of the most iconic and recognizable figures in the entire history of the Real Housewives franchise. Nene had been on the Real Housewives of Atlanta since its very first episode in 2008. She was not just a cast member, she was the show. She made I Said What I Said a cultural moment. She crossed over into mainstream television, appeared on Broadway, became one of the most quoted women in reality TV history. And then in 2020, after 12 seasons, she was gone. In April 2022, Nene Leakes filed a federal lawsuit in Atlanta against Bravo, NBC Universal, production companies True Entertainment and Truly Original, and Andy Cohen personally. The lawsuit alleged that for years NBC, Bravo, and the production companies had fostered a corporate and workplace culture in which racially offensive and insensitive behavior was not just tolerated, it was encouraged. The specific conduct at the center of the lawsuit involved her white castmate Kim Zolciak-Biermann, who Nene alleged had repeatedly made racially insensitive comments on set. Nene said she complained to executives repeatedly. She said nothing was done. She said instead of Kim facing consequences, Nene herself ended up pushed out of the show she had helped build from scratch. The lawsuit was not small. It named Andy Cohen as a defendant. It described a workplace where black talent was held to a different standard than white talent, where complaints from black women were ignored, while the women making racially offensive comments continued to thrive. Nene's departure from RHOA, according to the lawsuit, was not voluntary. She was forced out in retaliation for speaking up. The case did not go to trial. In August 2022, Nene Leakes dismissed it without prejudice, meaning she could theoretically refile. Both parties agreed to pay their own legal costs. No settlement terms were ever made public. The public never found out what happened behind closed doors. But here is what we know. Nene filed that lawsuit, Andy Cohen was named in it, and the network that Andy built paid lawyers to make it go away quietly. That is not nothing. That is, in fact, something. And then things got more serious. In January 2024, a lawsuit landed that was so graphic, so disturbing in its allegations, that Bravo had no choice but to acknowledge it publicly. Former Real Housewives of New Jersey star Caroline Manzo, a woman who had been part of the Bravo family for years, beloved by fans, with a reputation as one of the more grounded and dignified women in the franchise, filed suit in New York State Court against Bravo, NBC Universal, Shed Media, Forest Productions, Warner Brothers Entertainment, and Peacock TV. The lawsuit detailed what Manzo alleged happened to her in January 2023 during the filming of an unaired season of Real Housewives' Ultimate Girls Trip in Marrakesh, Morocco. The cast included Brandi Glanville, Phaedra Parks, Camille Grammer, Gretchen Rossi, Vicky Gunvalson, a collection of Real Housewives alumni from across the franchise. According to the court documents, the third day of filming turned into something Manzo described as the worst night of her life. The complaint alleged that an intoxicated Brandi Glanville walked over to Manzo at a bar, spread Manzo's legs, and laid her head on Manzo's inner thigh. When Manzo pulled away and moved to the other end of the couch, Glanville allegedly followed her, sat next to her, kissed her with a closed mouth, and then mounted her on the couch, holding Manzo down with her weight, forcibly kissing her with an open mouth while humping her. Manzo, according to the documents, tried to push Glanville off but was unable to because of the size and weight differential. The complaint also alleged that Glanville followed Manzo into a bathroom later that night and groped her again, and that Manzo screamed for help while producers listened via audio equipment and did nothing until another cast member, Alex McCord, finally opened the bathroom door from outside. The lawsuit alleged that Bravo companies knew about Glanville's history of inappropriate behavior. It alleged that producers had actively encouraged Glanville to drink heavily in Morocco, a country where public alcohol consumption is restricted, specifically because they wanted her behavior to create compelling television content. Defendants even encouraged Ms. Glanville to become drunk on the set, so that she would be more likely to commit outrageous and harassing acts, the filing stated, thereby helping defendants' ratings without regard to the rights and safety of those around her. The season was never aired. The episodes reportedly exist, fully edited, covering the incident across a 4-episode arc, according to court documents. Bravo buried them entirely rather than deal with what airing them would mean legally and publicly. The network has never released them. They are sitting on a server somewhere, complete, unwatchable, the most expensive piece of evidence Bravo has ever accidentally produced. Brandi Glanville denied the allegations. She said Caroline's characterization was false. She said whatever happened between them was mutual and encouraged by production. And then just 1 month after Caroline's lawsuit became public, Brandi's legal team fired back not just at Caroline, but at Andy Cohen directly. In February 2024, lawyers for Brandi Glanville sent a letter to NBC Universal, Shed Media, and Warner Bros. Discovery, putting them on notice of her intention to sue. The letter alleged that Andy Cohen, Brandi's boss, the executive producer who controlled her entire career at Bravo, had sent Brandi a video in 2022 inches which he appeared visibly intoxicated. In the video, which was later leaked to The Sun and spread across social media, Cohen, alongside Below Deck star Kate Chastain, told Brandi directly, "We are effing tonight and we're going to talk about you the whole time." Cohen then asked Brandi if she had about 90 minutes to watch him and Kate have sex over FaceTime. Brandi's lawyers described this as a textbook abuse of power. Mr. Cohen was Ms. Glanville's boss at the time, the letter stated, and exercised complete and total control over her career. This was an extraordinary abuse of power that left Ms. Glanville feeling trapped and disgusted. The letter compared the situation to the Matt Lauer scandal at NBC, specifically invoking the phrase "battle days of Matt Lauer and NBC News," when profits were prioritized over people. Andy Cohen's response came within hours. He posted on X saying the video was clearly a joke, that Brandi's response at the time communicated she was in on it, and then added crucially, "That said, it was totally inappropriate and I apologize." An apology for a joke. A public apology from the most powerful man in reality television for a video he sent to a woman who worked for him about sleeping with her while she watched. Call it whatever you want, but that apology happened. Brandi's lawyers called it a fake apology. They said it was designed for the press, not for Brandi. Bravo then announced it had launched an outside investigation into the allegations against Cohen. Months later, they announced that investigation had concluded, and the claims were unsubstantiated. Neither McSweeney nor Glanville nor their lawyers had been interviewed by the investigators. Brandi's attorney Brian Friedman asked the question that everyone was asking. NBC did not speak with the complaining witnesses? How is that an investigation? Brandi's legal situation then took a painful turn. In September 2024, she posted on X revealing that her high-profile legal team attorneys, Brian Friedman and Mark Garagos, had dropped her as a client, telling her she no longer had a case. Brandi alleged on social media that she wondered if they had been paid off. She said she had spent a year being told how strong her case was, and how rich she was about to become only for her lawyers to walk away. Whether that is what happened, nobody outside that situation can say. But what Brandi said in her public statements painted a picture of a woman who felt entirely alone, a Bravo side chick, as she put it herself, who could be used and discarded, who lived check to check while other housewives were wealthy, and who had been told her story mattered right up until the moment it didn't. And then there is Leah McSweeney. Because Leah McSweeney's lawsuit is the one that is still going, the one that is getting worse, the one that a federal judge has now, in March 2026, ruled will be litigated in public federal court, not in private arbitration where it could be quietly buried. Leah McSweeney was on The Real Housewives of New York City during seasons 12 and 13, from 2020 to 2021. She had been open about her struggles with alcohol use disorder and sobriety. In February 2024, she filed suit in Manhattan federal court against Andy Cohen, Bravo, NBC Universal, Warner Brothers Discovery, Shed Media, and several named producers. The complaint was, by any measure, explosive. Leah alleged that before joining RHONY, she disclosed her history with alcoholism and sobriety to producers. She alleged that despite knowing this, the production team deliberately created situations designed to pressure her to drink on camera. She said she was mocked for staying sober, told she was boring when she wasn't drinking, and threatened with losing pay if she left the filming location to attend AA meetings while shooting in Thailand. She said producers used what she described as guerrilla-type psychological warfare intentionally weaponized to break her psyche, pressuring her colleagues to influence her, colluding with co-stars to make her feel isolated if she remained sober, and eventually retaliating against her when she stopped drinking and complained to Bravo's Human Resources Department. Her complaint included more than 30 causes of action under federal, New York State, and New York City law. It also included a civil RICO claim alleging a coordinated enterprise designed to violate employment protections for profit. And it accused Andy Cohen personally of using cocaine with cast members. The lawsuit stated that Cohen engaged in cocaine use with housewives and other Bravo celebrities that he employs, and that the people who partook with him received more favorable treatment and edits. This was not a rumor. This was a signed legal complaint filed in federal court. Cohen's lawyer immediately called the allegations false, offensive, and defamatory, and demanded a retraction. Cohen himself called the suit a shakedown. His legal team argued that many of the claims were barred by the First Amendment, that Bravo as a creative entity had the right to make a show about women drinking alcohol and to cast people who could actually drink. In November 2024, the federal judge overseeing the case, U.S. District Judge Louis Lyman, issued his ruling on motions to dismiss. The ruling was 100 pages long. He dismissed more than half of Leah's 33 claims. He agreed that Bravo's First Amendment rights protected many of their production decisions, including the right to make a show centered on drinking and to cast accordingly. But 3 major claims survived and were allowed to proceed: disability discrimination, hostile work environment, and failure to provide reasonable accommodation for her disability, specifically the allegation that they prevented her from attending AA meetings while filming abroad. He also allowed a retaliation claim to proceed, noting that Cohen had texted Leah after she filed an internal HR complaint, referencing that complaint as part of the reason she would not be recast. That text message, referenced directly in the judge's written ruling, is damaging on its own terms. Then, in November 2025, Leah filed amended claims with a new and stunning allegation. She accused Andy Cohen of orchestrating a coordinated attack against her using the Bravo universe itself as a weapon. The amended complaint named 24 current and former Real Housewives cast members, including Luanda Lesseps, Kyle Richards, Melissa Gorga, Candy Burris, Lisa Vanderpump, Heather Dubrow, and Dorinda Medley, alleging that Cohen had directed and/or induced all of them to publicly disparage her character and her truthfulness after she filed the lawsuit. According to the court papers, each of these Bravo celebrities would not have made their statements but for Cohen's direction and/or inducement, and did so in order to curry favor with Cohen in the hopes that such favor would propel their entertainment careers. Think about what that means if true. It would mean that Andy Cohen, facing a lawsuit about abuse of power, allegedly responded by using that same power to mobilize an entire television universe against a single former cast member who dared to file a complaint. In March 2026, just weeks ago, Judge Lyman issued another ruling. Bravo and Cohen had requested the case be moved out of public federal court and into private arbitration, where proceedings are sealed, discovery stays confidential, and the public never sees what comes out. The judge denied the request. He said Bravo and Cohen had already litigated motions in federal court. They had tried to get the case thrown out entirely through the public legal system. Having failed at that, they then tried to retreat to the privacy of arbitration. The judge said they could not do that. They had, in his words, waived the right to arbitration. He wrote that the defendants were trying to have their cake and eat it, too. And he noted that the likely motivation for the arbitration request was the daunting specter of civil discovery, meaning that what would come out during the evidence-gathering phase of a public trial is something Bravo and Cohen were desperate to prevent the public from seeing. Leah posted about the ruling on Instagram. She called it emotionally and mentally draining. She said it had been a long 2 years. She said, "Reality TV might look like entertainment, but behind the drama, there can be harmful misconduct that should never be normalized." Then in April 2026, just days ago, at the time this script was written, Cohen filed new court documents calling Leah's cocaine allegations nonsense, arguing her evidence amounts to 2 anonymous cast members who privately confirmed things to her, one former cast member who called him a cocaine head after she wasn't recast, and social media commentary. His legal team is fighting hard to get those claims dismissed before the full case goes to trial. But the cocaine allegations surviving or not, the rest of the case is going to trial in a public courtroom with discovery, with depositions, with whatever text messages, emails, production notes, and behind-the-scenes communications come out during that process. And that is the thing that should have every person in the Bravo universe paying attention. Because what happens when a federal trial happens is not what happens on a reunion. Andy is in control. He has the mic. He can redirect. He can pause for commercial breaks. He decides what questions get asked and when. In federal court, nobody controls what gets deposed. Nobody controls what emails get subpoenaed. Nobody controls what a witness says under oath. Here is where we are in 2026. Nene Leakes filed a racism and hostile workplace lawsuit against Andy Cohen and Bravo, and it was quietly dismissed without any public accounting of what happened. Caroline Manzo is suing Bravo for an alleged sexual assault that happened on their set, during their production, while their cameras rolled and their audio equipment listened. Brandi Glanville accused Andy Cohen of sexual harassment in a legal letter, had the video corroborating part of that accusation leaked to the internet, and then lost her lawyers and was left to fend for herself. Bravo commissioned an investigation into Cohen that his accusers' lawyers publicly called a sham because neither of them was interviewed. And Leah McSweeney's case, the one that has produced a 100-page judicial ruling, survived motions to dismiss, been denied arbitration, and is now headed to public trial, keeps accumulating new evidence, new names, and new allegations. The question that keeps getting louder, the question that nobody at NBC Universal seems eager to answer publicly, is a simple one. How many women across how many shows, across how many years, do you have to describe the same patterns before it stops being coincidence and starts being policy? Andy Cohen has not been convicted of anything. He has not lost any of these cases. He remains the host of Watch What Happens Live. He remains the executive producer of the most profitable reality television franchise in history. But the lawsuits are not going away. And the one that matters most, the one that a federal judge in New York has now forced into a public courtroom, is only just beginning. The real reunion hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen in court.